NIO is finally fighting back. Today, December 30th, the stock just ripped over 6% higher, hitting nearly $6 per share. But this isn't just a random bounce. China just dropped a massive regulatory update that changes everything for 2026, and CEO William Li is calling for a record-breaking Q4. Is this finally the moment that NIO can reclaim its former glory? In this video, we'll analyze the stock chart, the options flow, and an in-depth dive into the news to see where the stock can go from here. Now, the biggest driver today is pure policy. The Chinese government officially confirmed that new energy vehicle trade-in subsidies will remain in place through 2026. Consumers can receive up to 20,000 yuan, approximately $2,800, when scraping an old car for a new EV. This has removed a massive cloud of uncertainty, and NIO jumped immediately, outperforming rivals like Li Auto and XPeng in early trading. But the policy is great, and the performance is what pays the bills. So CEO William Li just dropped a bombshell forecast for the current quarter. Li projected that Q4 vehicle sales should exceed 30 billion yuan, roughly $4.27 billion, and in order to hit those numbers, NIO expects to deliver between 120,000 and 125,000 vehicles this quarter alone. Now, the December surge is driven by marketing VP Kang Kai, suggesting production for the best-selling ES8 could hit 20,000 units in December alone. That would be a staggering milestone for the company. Now, there's also a major shift happening behind the scenes that the market is loving. They're pretty much dumping the competition, with reports indicating that NIO has suspended its battery supply cooperation with its rival BYD, specifically for its mass market Onvo L60 brand. So now that we've covered the news, let's look at the stock chart to analyze where the stock has the potential to go for 2026. Now, before we dive into, I want to remind you guys of our Patreon membership, which is a 7-day free trial. And in this subscription, you get exclusive access to our Ticketflow AI app, which accesses full entry to AI-led trades and gives you alpha, as well to our top 3 high alpha trades of the week sent every single Sunday, which gives our subscribers immense returns. And masterclass education, when we do deep dives every single Sunday, and we drop educations on stocks, options, as well as risk management. We can see here that our custom algorithm has detected that the stock is now in a bullish phase, as we are seeing a green underlining. During this transition here, where it fell below our indicator, it was still bearish, but this should have been a key area to buy the stock, as it was heavily being discounted and the RSI was reaching low levels of 27 and 28, showing that the move from $7 all the way towards the lows of $4 and around 80 cents was pretty much oversold, and this was an indication that we would expect a near-term bounce, which is exactly what happened at the RSI, where it spiked up, right, which is very good news here on NIO stock. Looking at this stock objectively, we can see that from the prior highs that were formed here on March here of this year of 2025, the buy signal was here when we got above and transitioned toward the bullish side of around $4. The stock went up towards $7, found that resistance near the $8 level, which are pretty even, and then it reclined, right? But now what I like to see here is that we held below, pretty much we held during this consolidation phase, and now we're bidding up, and this candle today is closing above the anchored VWAP from this previous high, right? Because prior it was resistance, right? So if we look at this objectively, it was resistance here, and now we came in, we tested it. Usually what happens is that when we break above a VWAP, we always come back and test it around the zone, and it doesn't have to be precisely a level, but around this general zone here, this is where the buyers started to become more aggressive, and they saw this as an opportunity to buy below the average price of entry around $5. They would buy cheaper at $4.80 or even higher price like $4.96, right? So I remain bullish here on NIO as long as it remains above here, and if we want to be more precise, we can plot an anchored VWAP from this high, right, the most dramatic, so this is where we're finding that resistance, right? That's what we're seeing currently, a pretty downward candle, which is signaling that we have bid up. The price has gone up towards $5.80, but it's been bidding down because there's resistance around the zone. So I believe that if NIO can sustain above this, let's say it can sustain above $4.80, and if we find a way to do the possible, for example something like this, like that, we come up right, and we test the VWAP, that would trigger higher highs and higher lows, initiation of the uptrend, right? So we will see something like this with the VWAP slowly curling up like that, and this would be the initiation of the long, right? So we would probably enter around this maybe general zone here on the pullback, or if you want to be more secure, you can enter anytime you have a pullback here on these names, right? So here or here, right? So what we want to see is just the price action finally getting above this area of resistance here, which is the short-term anchored VWAP here at the swing high. That was 727, because the sellers are in control of it, right? They're currently selling. They're adding supply currently at this level, and we do not want that. We want buyers to be fully above, right, and get above the anchored VWAP, the level resistance, come back, test it, and go towards the upside. Now, price targets towards the upside that I have here are going to be obviously towards the highs. I believe that every single time we have a reversal, you should be taking profits at the highs, because there's going to be a lot of people that are also going to be taking profits, right? So if you're an institution that was long since here, you obviously going to take profits at $8, right? And then people who are looking to add supply will add supply here. So pretty much market psychology, right? But I see it going towards $8, and if it's very lucky, I can see it going towards even dollars of $10 here on NIO. But this does depend here on the overall sentiment of the market and how it's currently being presided. So I'll mark this here as price target number 1, right? First price target, and then here $10 flat is going to be my second price target on NIO if this bullish case does happen. Now we also have to consider the bearish case, right? Let's say, what if this does not play out? Well, simply we can do this, right? So let's say NIO does the following. So we come back, let's say we found resistance at that high, we come back, test this, and then we break below this key area of support, right? By breaking below this area, it would trigger and tell us that the sellers actually came in stronger, at the buyers that came in at this exact level, which have triggered this, kind of U momentum, actually did not hold, and it would be a further decline, possibly a retest of that support, now act as resistance and fall even further towards the levels here of 436 here, which would be areas that could be shorted, right? You could short enter here, let's say for the short position, hold, take some profits here, and then the next level take profits would be around $3.99 or the even $4 level, which would be very important. But this is a bullish scenario, which is right here, so I'll mark this as bullish. And then the bearish scenario is if it breaks this level here, and that would trigger even more selling here for NIO towards the downside, right? So other than that, I am still bullish on this name so far, and my price targets are going to be remained of $8 and $10 here on NIO. So as you can see here, we're on the put to call ratio here of NIO, and we can see every single expiration date from the 2nd of January of 2026 all the way towards 21st of January of 2028, right? So we have a very big scope here. Now the nearest expiration date here is in 3 days, and yet we have higher call volume than put volume, which is a very good sign here, saying that the market is pricing in some future bullishness, right? So there's a lot of people that are looking at long this name, betting that the stock will go higher. If you look at the next expiration date, same thing. The call volume is higher than the put volume, and this keeps going. Even look at this one here, the 16th of January. Some big move is coming on that day, because we have pretty much 10x the call volume here than the put volume, right? So it's a very big difference, especially here. And pretty much the implied volatility is also being priced in onto this stock, especially for this expiration date, which would be in around 17 days here. And we keep seeing this trend, right? Call volume being higher than put volume, and this is really good news here, all the way towards here, actually 2020. But we really don't like to look at these because they're always changing. They don't really have an effect. You kind of generally want to stick towards these short term, within the same year. So I think here, right, maybe this is a max, right? So the 21st of August of 2026 here, we do have 880 call volume versus a put volume here of 52, which is very, very good sign here for NIO. So We are seeing the markets, the stock market pricing in bullishness, and the options market as well, having investors, being, bullish and pricing in further upside in this name. So where does the stock go from here? Despite a rough November, the consensus estimate is still a buy, as Wall Street analysts have an average 12-month price target of around $7, representing a potential 27% upside from the current levels. I firmly believe that if NIO can successfully bridge the gap into 2026 with these new subsidies and hit the delivery targets, the current levels might be a steal for the new year. The real question is, are you buying this bounce, or are you waiting for NIO to prove itself and that it can finally hit profitability in 2026? Drop a comment below, smash that like button, and subscribe to our channel for more insights on the latest trending stocks. And as always, remember to not let the markets whip you guys out. I'll see you guys on the next one.